get too far into this, or at all anyways. Coming on here. Coming on here. Into this, or at all anyways. Coming on here. Okay, well hopefully this works well. So I'm just going to start where I left off last night. Made quite a bit of progress on this texture. Let's see. So for starters, just a second guys, I'm just checking this stream here. Stream options, let's see. Okay, so I kind of need to decide what I'm going to do next with this texture. Again, I have this layer here, which I actually like pretty well, except that it's so large on this texture it's hard to really see how well it's actually going to work. But in general, I think it looks pretty good. I wanted to add a little more of a stony texture look to this texture here. I guess it looks okay, just not quite what I was picturing. So let me see here what I can come up with, if anything, and I may just leave it as it is. Let's see. So if I can find my folder here, textures, raw textures. You'll probably experience some buffering and such. That's just because my internet's pretty crummy, so unfortunately there might be a little delay, but that's not a big deal, I don't think. This might be something I might try. Let's see. This would be a kind of a good overlay too. Let me think about this, guys. Open up that texture and just see. I like having these cracks in the. That adds quite a bit right there, actually. I mean, let's see. If I just duplicate this a few times and get a nice layer going here, let's see what I might be able to do with this. Nice thing about these concrete textures is these the grooves here are kind of will basically make it so you don't have to make your texture, at least the main part of your texture, tileable, because the grooves take care of that. So you don't see, in a way, they're kind of like seams you would normally see in a non-tileable texture if you tried to tile it. But in this case, you want the seams, so it's kind of nice. So I don't have to worry too much about how this is going to be repeated, so to speak. So let's see. Transform. I want to flip this the other direction, because you can see I don't want, I don't want to be able, I don't want people to be able to match these like cracks up as easily. So do that. I'm actually liking this pretty well. This adds quite a bit of cool look to the texture. Again, to what extent will I let's see, I need to erase this. But to how much I'm going to let this show through, I'm not sure. But I am liking the looks of it pretty well at the moment. Let's see, I might have to erase the whole... I mean, I could have just lined it up, but I guess what I was concerned about was having a seam here that you'd be able to see, so I was trying to blend it, but it's not going to really work that way. Yeah, so we do have a little seam, partly because I erased too much, I think. Down just slightly. Let's see, that's going to be slightly noticeable. If I could just get one more pixel's width erased. This might be kind of a trick. Okay, what I could do then is take the smudge tool, increase the size of this brush. And I could try to smudge this line out right here. Just enough so it's not quite so obvious anyways. But it's still kind of obvious. I might just scale this texture up, I don't know. Then I won't have to worry about the seam. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So, of course I have a seam there. I don't know, maybe I won't worry about it because I can't really see it. It kind of lines up anyways. Oh well, we'll give that a try. What I could do is merge all these layers down. Image, crop to selection. Of course, I don't have anything selected yet. I'll select everything and then say image crop to selection. Okay, that actually doesn't look too bad. What I wanted to try is a couple things. First would be filters, map, tile, or make seamless. That's it. Let's see. Now I would think that would either get rid of the seams or place them in random areas. I didn't really want to do that though, because that's just gonna make it look repetitious. I guess either way it's gonna look repetitious unless I bring the opacity down quite a bit. That's a little better anyways. I kind of like that. Maybe up just a little bit. Okay, and then we have, again, our kind of color shades here. And this, I think this layer here is going to be pretty subtle. I'm going to go ahead and rename this, and let's see, which layer was the one I was just working with. So I'll call this, I'll call it grit or something. And these are grooves, so this is going to be grooves. Groove 02, and then I can call this groove 01. Save it. Alright, it's actually looking pretty good. What I think I'll do right now is just export this as is, and of course, like I said, these will have kind of their own layers eventually, but I'll just export this as it is now and then come back and kind of separate everything out into different images. And probably end up doing some scaling of the textures. So let me find Blender here and open up that project of mine, and then we can attempt to retexture this. Okay. Image. I might be able to just reload this image. Let's see, image. And then if I set this render mode to texture. Okay. So that shading here looks kind of funky right now because it really wouldn't be part of this texture for one. So let me go ahead and just remove that. And actually that makes it look like I want to have a little more of this grit. Of course, I can barely see it for some reason. There we go, I just gotta duplicate it once. Merge down. Okay, that's better. It's a little light in color yet, so. And then I can reload this. Alright, let me get to a big window here. Move these menus. It's actually not looking too bad, so what I might end up doing, it's always hard to tell until you get something into the sim how it's actually going to look. I still kind of want a darker groove here. That looks a little light colored in my opinion. So maybe it's like a nice dark black line right in the center. Let me do that real quick. So make a new layer. Groove 03. Let's see, size is about right, a little large. That's better. And maybe use this brush. I'm not too sure at the moment, but might give it a shot. Alright, that looks good. And then the same for this one. Okay, and then I can just go all the way around here. Now to see, this is still a little dark, so I just bring it down just a hair. Alright, that looks pretty good. Save it real quick and re-export it. Reload the image here. Alright, yeah, that looks a lot nicer, I think. Yeah, okay. So what I'm tempted to do now is actually export this thing somewhere so I can just look at it. I gotta figure out how much this is scaled down by. I think it's about 10 times, but honestly can't quite remember. Let me measure this. I had to open up Google Earth too. Don't want any of this crap. Let's see. Okay. Find Spokane, which, as you can imagine, I'm pretty good at finding nowadays. So as you can see in this, this is almost even closer to the actual color. So I might have some revising to do, but anyhow, let me just measure like maybe this edge right here. Tools, ruler. Get a rough measurement. 217.62 meters. Okay. And we can do a rough measurement here as well. Tools. Where are we looking here? Grease pencil. The ruler protractor. It's closer to 10. So I'm thinking it's scaled down about 20 times. Would that be about right? Yeah, I think so. So let's do that then. Let's export this. Let me get all that. It's a little light in color still. Maybe I want to, before I export it, let me go back here. Export this. So file, file, export as. And let me add a layer here for this texture. See if this is going to work or not. Might not, but let's just do it anyways. So, alright. I'm going to duplicate this thing here. Don't think that worked. Let's see. No. I need to be in object mode for one. Okay. Just going to move it up on the z-axis just a little bit for the time being. And let me change this texture. So go back to my UV image editor. Say image, replace image. And that was concrete blur. And that's going to need to be scaled down now a lot, in my opinion. Okay. Maybe something like that. That might even still not be enough. So one thing here, I actually want to map it so it spans the whole length, I think. Let's try this. UV image editor. Perhaps I want to scale it so it all fits inside that texture. This is going to be kind of weird, guys, but let's just see how it works. Actually, probably be pretty bad looking. Just try and utilize as much of this as I can. Go back to the 3D view. So now we need to make it somewhat transparent. So let me add an alpha channel. We already have one, so if I just bring down the transparency, re-export and reload. And I messed up my texture down here, so let's see. Need to go back in UV image editor. Oh, I went and replaced the image, that's the problem. So let's new image. Image, open image, perhaps. Concrete. Something. Can't remember what it's called. Concrete. Where can I find that? Wouldn't it be that one, would it? Concrete 01. Let me export this, see what it's named. Okay, so where is it? Can't find it, that's odd. There it is. Hidden. Okay, let me go back here. So where is my alpha channel on this thing? There we go. Move it almost on top of that. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work, guys, so let's see. For one, the grooves need to be on top, so that was one problem too. So I gotta rethink this somehow. And of course I have to do it in a way. So what if, let's say this, let's say, alright, I have an idea. Let's delete this object here. Delete that. And then let's go back into my top view here. Alright, so I'm going to try a different approach here, I guess. So I'm going to duplicate this layer, or this object. And, you know what, I'll probably go ahead and hide the other one, I guess. Hide it. Okay. Trying to get into texture rendered mode. And my thought was, and of course it's kind of hard because I haven't, I guess it's mapped pretty much to where I want it here. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So what I was going to do is just kind of make some different cuts here in the plane. So what if I was going to do this in textured mode so I can kind of see where I'm going to put these lines, because these got to be lined up somehow. So let's say like right here. Let's start. Let's make a cut or subdivide this right here. Hopefully it doesn't mess up. It's going to probably mess up the texturing, I'm guessing. So let's just give this a shot. And once you figure out how big one of these are, let's see. So tools, that's what I'm looking for. Subdivide. If I was to grab this, yes, it's going to wreck the texture. Well, it did because I was just moving. Let me measure one of these things here. See how big they are. Get as close as I can. Tools. Or no, grease pencil, ruler, protractor. Get that smack dab in the middle there. And come across. Okay, so basically 0.3 square. So let's undo that. What I can do then is say, and this might take a little work to line it up right. Let's ignore the texture for now. So that's a start. Okay, and let's move this way. I want to dissolve this face. X, dissolve faces. Maybe delete faces. I don't know. That didn't work. How do I unfill that? Let's select the edges here. Edge loops. And trying to figure out how to remove this face because I thought I would be able to do this. Only faces. There we go. Okay, knew there was a way. So let me go back here. Let's put a vertex. I'm going to basically kind of trace out some of these things, but I have to keep in mind that I'm going to make my texture, each tile is going to be 0.3 meters square. So let's do this. Let's start here actually. Let's extrude this out. X meters. So 0.3. Let's see if I can do this math here. 21 would be a factor. 2.1, I mean. So I could do 2.1 meters and be safe. I could type. See, that went the wrong way. Yeah, it's negative, I guess. Negative 2.1. Okay. And then, since my tiles are 3.3 meters square, I could extrude upwards 0.3 meters. So extrude from the y-axis 0.3. And then I could go back this way, 0.3. Well, not that way. I wanted to go negative. Extrude x, negative 0.3, and then extrude y, 0.3, and let's see. Extrude x, 0.3. I keep having to make sure this is negative 0.3. And back to the y-axis, 0.3. So what I'm doing here, because my overlay texture is just not going to work out, I don't think. I'm trying to just map out these different shaded pieces of concrete here, so I can add on, map different overlay textures here. So I should have duplicated this so I have a. Actually, I already do, don't I? Let's see. Yeah, I won't worry about it. Okay. But, so I'm just going to kind of outline some of these different shades here. So let's see. Some of this here is actually wear, I guess, you know, tire wear and stuff. So, but like this here, I kind of want to capture some of these different colors in the concrete in some way. So I'll extrude all the way back now, and let's subdivide this edge here. Wish I knew if there was a keyboard shortcut for this, but I'll just do it manually there. And then I want to move it precisely to this vertices location on the y-axis. So I press N to look at my transform location here. -7.2 something. Let me just copy that. Control C. Go back to this vertice. Paste that coordinate in. Press Enter. Now they're perfectly lined up. I could say Alt M to merge these two vertices together, and I'll merge it at the last one I selected. So at last. And there we go. And so we have a little lighter piece right here. So what if we did something like this? So we had to again extrude -0.3 meters, extrude this way, 0.3 meters, extrude on the x-axis all the way back here. And let's see. There's got to be an easy way to cut this edge than having to select these vertices every time, but loop cut perhaps? I don't know. Let's see if loop cut would work. Yeah, it does work. Cool. Of course, I pressed right click, so it centered it when I didn't want it to. Perhaps, or not. Whatever. Okay, I'll just move it myself. And actually, I'm just going to copy the coordinates again. So, Control C, and then paste them into here. Control V. That work? Yeah, it did. Okay, Alt M. I want to merge at the last one I selected. Okay. Here, I want to make a different, have a little bit different color concrete here, actually. This is going to be quite an experiment. So if I extrude that out, but I need to extrude it, I guess I don't need to extrude it precisely in this case, so let me just pull that over here and make a loop cut. Move that on the y-axis. Make sure they're lined up, and Alt M at last. Okay, now I could probably copy these vertices because I want to kind of capture some of this going on right here. So what if I do this? Control Z, Control V, Control V. How do I paste this? I guess Shift D would work, okay. 0.3, 0.6, 0.9, 0.12. So I can place some right here after I figure out how far to move these. Again, they have to be factors of 0.3, so let's see, 0.3 times 5, 1.5. Try that. and then grab on the y-axis. I can move it how far? 0.21. I know I can do that. 0.24, I mean 2.4. Alright, that worked pretty well. Again, these aren't going to line up exactly, but I kind of capture this. Okay. And then I could drag this down, extrude, let's see, extrude X or Y axis, negative 0.6, and I'm going to have to subdivide that. No, actually I don't have to subdivide it. I don't know what I'm thinking. I can undo that and extrude this way, 0.6. Put an edge there by pressing F. And then here we have a different shade again, so let's extrude this, 0.3. Could have duplicated some, but I'll just do it this way. Extrude negative 0.3 and 0.3 and back. 0.9, negative 0.9. So again, I've never really tried this before, but I'm just kind of seeing what I can come up with, which is kind of fun. Okay, I can't just extrude it out like that. That's the problem. So 0.3 something. Let's just so I don't have to make mistakes, because I don't really want to make a mistake. I'll use a calculator and cheat here. How far do I want to go here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 maybe? So 14. Where's my numpad? Not working. There we go. 14 times 0.3. 4.2, just to be safe. Okay, so 14, is that right? I said 4.2, didn't I? Not 14.2. 4.2. There we go. And then we can move this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'd be 2.4. 2.4, and then I can come all the way back. Should be this vertice right here. Not one too far. So I can subdivide these two, and everything works out right. These two vertices right here should be lined up exactly, which they are, so that's good. Now we might be adding a few polygons here, but I don't think it's a big deal, honestly. It just really, it's still not even that many, so we're just going to go with it. I know that vertex cannot be lined up exactly, so I can't really rely on that, but I can come down here and make a new vertex somehow. Oh, how am I going to do that? Tell you what, let's delete this edge if I can. Okay, and let's extrude this on the x-axis down to here, which is 0.6, and then extrude this all the way down there somehow. So what I can do is extrude it, copy this vertices y-axis coordinate, and paste it into this one. And okay, these should be perfectly aligned now. So you have a few different shades right here as well, so I could even I could really go crazy with this. But let's see. Don't want to be too over the top. I want to move this back on the x or the y-axis minus 0.6, get back to here, and extrude over to the x-axis over right 0.6. 9. So the other part about this is you're hoping the texture lines up correctly, which it should, because it is perfectly, tiles are perfectly square, basically. But that is part of this, is what I'm thinking anyways. So I guess what I'll do, I'll just pop this vertice all the way over. Whoops. And I need to cut a vertice right there, so let's subdivide that. Could subdivide, or I could just drag this over, which is probably easier. Move it close and then just copy the Y coordinate once again. Control C and Control V into this box. Merge these two vertices together, so Alt M at last, and then move this on the X-axis a little bit. Looks good. Now I'll just adjust this slightly to fill in that space a little bit. Maybe the same with this one. Okay. So we have some different shades here, so that's going to be interesting to see how we can do something about that. So 0.3, if I divide this, subdivide this, this isn't going to work out right, is it? So how many did I expect to have here? I can't remember what the distance was. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 3 here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2.4 this way. So how many do I have to how many loop cuts do I have to make here? Well, that's hard math, isn't it? Is that going to be right? 6, because then I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I do one more, am I going to have too many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. And then I was thinking, well, if I could just, I would like to just copy these over. So what I'll do is just, first of all, do a border select here. Extrude these on the y-axis. Didn't want to really extrude the edge though. Yeah, well, I can delete that face. So let me go back and delete these faces. X only faces. Okay. And I'd like to do kind of a knife project thing here. So I don't have to line up all these vertices. So let's see. What can I do with that? If I duplicate this, separate it, separate selection, go to object mode, grab this, move it down this way. Just don't make sure I lock it to the y-axis, so I'm only moving it one direction. Have it selected, select this object, go into edit mode, knife project. Let's see what we got, what came out of that. Let me go back out in object mode first and delete that object. Shoot, I was hoping to have some vertices here. Let's see. I thought I could cut that. Let me try that again. Duplicate this. Right click so it doesn't move. P to separate the selection. Object mode. Grab, move on the y-axis here. May not be able to cut edges. Maybe if I make faces out of this. So if I select this, is that going to be one big face? Okay, good. And then go back here. Yeah, I need to be in edit mode for this. The knife project. And that didn't work, did it? Ah, that's annoying. So what do I... The question is how best to cut vertices in here. Well, I have a good idea. Let's do this. This isn't too hard. Let's make a couple vertices here to begin with, and I can move these two over like so. Get these lined up exactly. So let me copy the coordinate on the x-axis this time. Paste it into this one, and same over here. And then we can just, once we do this, we can just do a loop cut. So before I do too much of this, I'm going to see how a texture looks on top of this as well. So make sure I do that. And then I can loop cut this, so loop cut. Control R, there we go. And then just increase the count till we have enough. Did that even work? Not exactly. We need one more. There we go. And then we can just create some edges. Alright, that wasn't too bad. And, you know, I wouldn't even necessarily have to have separate polys all over this thing, because that would be kind of hard to map them all. So I might make some duplicates here. Let me dissolve these edges to get rid of them. Dissolve edges. Let's try only edges and faces. Still have the vertices here, so I'll select those. X, dissolve vertices. There we go. Let me try thinking about how we might put some different textures over top of this. So, kind of the same idea as I had before, only we're going to do it a little differently here. So let's make a new texture. And this doesn't have to be very big at all. 512 might even be too much, but we'll start out with that. And I just want to, at least for starters, just make a sort of a basic color here. This is going to be interesting. I just want to change the shade. Now in here it's actually more of a gray color, which I think is a little more accurate. So we'll stick with that. I wonder what these kind of dirty marks are. Obviously these are tire marks here. But yeah, a lot of interesting things. But you can really see there's some different color variation right in here. So there definitely is something to these different shades. So what I was thinking is, if I make these different colors. This is definitely different shaded. Well, we'll just go with it here, guys, and see. Again, this is just something I've never done before, so haven't decided if I've come to the best way or not yet. So we can make some different colors here, and then if I were to copy this just as is, paste it into this texture, and the grooves are going to be always going to be above everything else, as well as the grain, because I don't want to lose that, of course. That really brings out a lot of things here, but in fact, I should be creating these textures right on top of this texture. So I can see what they look like, but I want to get something here that I can export to the sim so I can think about how it looks. I actually like this because that actually is really effective at changing the tone of the color tone of the concrete. So if I have something, let's say I had something like this, and well, let me just delete most of it, and I can put some different shades here that I can play around with. That'd be cool. So maybe like, let me select this area, and then I could play around with this shade. So colors, hue, saturation, maybe make this a little lighter, maybe to a certain hue, which I can't really do because it's gray. But I could colorize it, I guess. So I can make this a little lighter. This may actually work pretty well because I really get these nice shades here. I like this. And I could do the same thing here. And in this case, let me take a look. What else? There's kind of the dark gray, light gray. Some are even lighter. So, I mean, you could even go like white. Make it lighter for like really brand new concrete. I don't think I want any really brand new concrete though. So I could do maybe 3 different shades of gray. So let me do like another one here. Maybe that's kind of in between these two. So colors, hue, saturation, lightness. Maybe something like that. Select all now so I can get a good look here. And I'm liking this quite a bit, guys. So let's see here. View, hide these guides so I can see what this looks like. Okay, that's kind of the effect I'm going for. These kind of different shades in the tiles. So I'm tempted now to actually try and export something here. So let's save these different colors first. So we're going to have the white, we're going to have the slightly darker. These two are almost the same still. I need to make one of these slightly lighter. Obviously this one down here probably. Let me do that real quick. Colors. Make this a little lighter. There. Okay. So we'll have 3 different shades here. So I need to export which layers here. So these two will be their own layer. So, and I don't need these to be very large. That's one thing. And how much can I even see of these nowadays? That's the other question. A little bit. Well, I won't scale them down now. I'll just leave them as is. I can scale them anytime I want. So let me just make a new image here. Okay, and let me copy these 2 layers. So, I didn't want to do that. Control V. Oh, I see, I didn't select everything. Select all. Let's do that again. Control V. Copy this layer as well. Okay. 2 new layer. Did that remove the alpha channel, didn't it? Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, we can do this. This is even easier. Move these to the top. Will that work? No, because they're still transparent. So we move these back down here. Can I export just single layers? Let me just turn off these things here. I can hide the layers. That's nice. Glad I came across that. So now I can just export these 2. Okay, sweet. Export as, this will be, and let's tempted to make a new folder here. We'll call this concrete. Ah, concrete. And we'll call this base grain .png. Sweet. What are the other layers now? So everything else would go on top. So if we hide these layers now, unhide these, and hide that as well. Okay. Now we have the top layers here. This is pretty cool. Okay. Ah, shoot, I just overwrote that thing. So this needs to be written, exported as detail something. Concrete detail. Okay. And then, since I overwrote that image, I'll have to re-export these two, or 3 layers, I guess. Export as concrete grain. Replace. And okay, let's see, we still have these shades here. I'm going to have to make full, well, 50.8 transparency. Okay, so I think we can work with that. Let's go back to this. Let's unhide this color. Hide all these things. Let's pick this color. So this will be the dark shade. So I can export as concrete shade. I always like to use underscores when I name things. Okay. Hopefully this works. And then we gotta go back, select this shade. That's the light one. So back over here, file. This is light. And this is the mid. Nah, that didn't work well. There we go. That was weird. Let's see. So this should be the light color. Did I get that right? So let me export this again. Concrete shade light. And then pick this color. Export it as mid. Hopefully I got these right. Mid. And export. Okay, so let's go take a look at these. Make sure I export everything right. And I clicked on Avast. Yeah. Okay. Textures. Taxi textures. Concrete. Alright, so we have the base grain. That's going to be the lowest layer in our ground poly. This is going to be the higher layer in our ground poly. In fact, the highest. This is going to be our in-between layers here, these shades. Okay, so this is cool. I keep clicking on the wrong things. Let's go to Blender here, figure out how we're going to map this. The shades are easy enough. And again, this layout here is for the shades. So Let's see. How do I want to do this? Easy enough to map, just what I want to do first. Let's get the base grain first, so let's see. I guess I deleted. No, I didn't. Did I? Ah. So I still have the lower layer here. That's good. And I'm just going to do a simple mapping like I did before. So let's see. Go into edit mode. UV image editor. Should be scaled. Almost what I want it to be. This is the tricky part now. So we had to get it exactly mapped correctly. How are we going to do that? So maybe what I'll do is I need to turn off this image because it makes it hard to see. Must be this one. Okay. Is there any more? Oh yeah, they're all showing. That's why it's so slow. If I hide these, Blender will move a lot faster. And hide the runway too. Okay. So how are we going to scale that properly? Let me go ahead and hide this. So I'll save that for last. Let's create a new plane in object mode, of course. The size of this is going to be 0.3, is going to be 0.15, the radius anyways. Okay, so that's the size of one tile. And I started the tiles off. I can unhide that other object now because, yeah. Let's see, what is that called? Plane 2. So if I line this up, so that's precisely placed right here. Hoping this works, guys. Okay, if I put this right there. This is as far as I can zoom in, so if I can't get it lined up now. Okay, close enough, I think. Doesn't look lined up, but whatever. Should be. So then I can hide this. And let me see if I can map. This texture won't matter, so UV image. Let's see. The grain texture doesn't matter. The grooves texture does matter. The detail layer. So let's do this. Let's open up a UV image editor window here. Turn off these things. UV image editor. And we want an image, open image. We'll replace this one. And we'll call it, or we'll navigate to concrete detail. And, okay. So first of all, we need to get scaled properly. It's going to be a trick. So let me rename this, because of course when I just replace an image, the name is all off. Concrete detail. Alright. And if I set this to texture render mode, now I can see our grooves at least. And there's kind of weird seams. Oh, that's just the grid. Okay, well, so I don't get confused, let me turn off that grid. Grid floor. It's because I'm in orthographic mode that I can see the grid. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah. So let's zoom right in here. And let me select all this. Try and move it. It's going to be really tedious, but move it on the Y or X axis. Now hopefully this lines up. I already kind of scaled this, so it might take a little bit of work to get right. Okay, so I guess if I want more precise movement, I had to get closer and zoom in more. That's getting close already, so this may not be too bad. And then I move it on the x-axis. The y-axis actually. No, yeah, the x-axis. If I zoom in, see how this lines up. A little small, perhaps. Yeah, just slightly small. So let's see if I can scale it up just a teeny bit. This will take some patience and a little trial and error to get this right. But I'm trying to get very exact because when you expand it over a big distance, it's going to get off really quickly. My mouse is a little too sensitive for this. Now this one still isn't quite lined up right, so let's scale it up a little bit more. And I could even possibly grab it. And that's lined up close-ish. It needs to be moved this way. Let's see now. Still not large enough, so I mean we really need to scale this up. Probably too big now. Nah, moving the wrong thing here. I need to be in here. Kind of messed it up. So everything is kind of reversed. It's kind of odd. That's why I can't get it scaled right. So I have to go in to scale up. It's odd. I don't know what's going on. Probably a little big now. So if I scale it down a little bit, grab it, move it this way, and that. Scale it up a little bit now. Once I get this aligned, I'll never have to deal with it again, but it's just a matter of doing that. I could use some other mapping method, but I just don't want to get into that right now. Yeah, zoom in closer. There we go. That's really close. That is really close. Let's see. If I zoom way in here, close enough is the question. Move it this way slightly. Man, that is lined up pretty well now. Yeah. Well, we'll run with that for a while and see if it stays lined up or not. Okay. So you can already see the repetition in this texture, but hopefully with these different layers we can break it up a little bit. That's always the downside with tiling textures like this, so it's always a bit of a trick getting the repetitiveness out of there. So we have this layer. I'm going to just go ahead and duplicate it. Well, I didn't want to do it in edit mode. I want to duplicate the entire object, so okay, and go into edit mode and image, open image, concrete base, or the base grain. Okay, and let me just move this object down a little bit so we can see the detail layer here. Okay, now that's looking pretty good. Oh, I think I can, well, I'll leave that square there for now, but I think I'm going to remove it here at some point. Now we just have that one plane, this one, and we need to kind of fill in these bits and pieces here. So let me do this. Let's make sure we're in edit mode. Don't have the right object selected. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in with these things with faces so we can do something with it. And it didn't work so well. Let's see. Oh, well, that'd be part of the problem. Maybe. Okay, so you have these two other layers. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess something up here, guys, because it can get confusing really quickly. Okay, but these are looking right. Let me just go back into our normal window here. Okay. So if I need to select this, and then I need to make planes in here. Edge loops, nope, edge rings. Not an easy way to select all these things. So we can't just fill in the faces like that. That's unfortunate. Okay. So what I'm going to have to do, I think, to make faces here is to select the edges that I want. So, tedious, but whatever. I won't argue with Blender right now. Okay, get my top view so I can see what I'm doing. Make that a face. I might be able to select all these and create a face. See, these worked here. Just kind of when you get these odd shapes, it doesn't work. So probably because these are not four-sided. Create face out of that, and then just this one. Let's see if that worked. Okay. So, and this one, I kind of want to map all these things separately. I'm going to go ahead and save a copy of this because I'm going to save, make this the test copy. Test. And let me go ahead and open that. Let me save this first. Open the test copy. Alright, and kind of weird that the center of that plane is right there. Bugs me a little bit, but I guess we're okay. I have to watch that one. But anyhow, let's see. This has to be the lighter color, and so let's make that a light color then. So let me open up my UV image editor again. It's gonna get interesting. Okay, UV image editor. Let me go ahead and open. I'll do a smart UV project. Or actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to do just a cube projection. There we go. Now it doesn't really matter what size this is because this is just going to be a flat. Just going to be a flat color I'm mapping here. So image. Let me open the light one. So this is going to be light. I can open the mid one and the dark one. Okay, so this is going to be mapped to the light one, and just I'm not going to worry about matching which ones with which at the moment. I'll make this dark. I'll try and wrap it using cube projection. Make that the dark one, and then I kind of want to alternate between mid. Unwrap this as a cube projection. Same with all of these. Alright, then go down the line here. This one should be mapped to a mid color one. I'll map this one to a light color. Maybe map one of these to a darker color. I don't know. Dark. Map this one. Maybe do some more light colors here. Try and be as somewhat random because it seems to be somewhat random in real life as well. Do a mid and then maybe 2 more lights. And down here, I'll make this dark. And this I'll make, I can't remember which ones haven't unwrapped this. There we go. And this one I'll make mid, I guess. And I guess I unwrapped that one already. Okay. Let's see if this even worked. It might be hard to even tell in Blender, but you can see how I've mapped these different shades now. And if I can kind of sneak that in between these 2 other layers here, so this would go beneath everything else here. Let's see if this is going to work or not. So it works. although the colors are a little harsher than I was thinking. That's okay, we can work with that. And again, it's not quite lined up yet. Well, of course that's because I'm not in perspective, top-down mode actually. It actually is lined up pretty well. Maybe slightly off, so again, that's going to take a little playing around with to get that, keep that lined up perfectly. But the idea is working, I think. So that gives us actually a lot of power. We could put like a couple patchy looking ones here, and again, that's kind of the whole idea. So let's see. The dark is going to be a lot lighter, for one. These two are not bad. Just the dark needs to be lighter, I guess. So let me fix that. First I'll copy that color. Oh, and that was one problem too, is that the opacity should be 50.8. Ah. Okay. Well, that's going to make a difference. So let's do that. Make sure there's an alpha channel. And change this to 50. I'll just make it 50. Why not? And file, export as, this is the dark one. Replace, export. And it's going to be a little chore to do here. This is going to be the mid color one. I'll go back here, fill that in with the paint bucket, export as the mid color. Export. And of course the last one is the light one. Okay, and export as light. Now if we go back into Blender and reload all these, there we go. Hopefully the dark is a lot lighter now. That's better, and now we can see the grain on the bottom as well. So of course it's going to look a little repetitive from this height, perhaps. But I'm thinking more from like this level, it doesn't look too bad. So the dark's still a little dark in my opinion. So let's this is maybe not quite contrasty enough. This is too contrasty. So let's go back to the dark color. Have to pick it. Don't really want to have a bunch of images open yet, so let's use the same one. Colors, hue, saturation. Let's lighten this up until we're happy with it. Ah, overrode it. That's annoying. Okay, well, let's I gotta resave the light one. Okay. Did that. And we can come back here. And reselect the dark color, fill that in, colors, hue, saturation. Again, we'll lighten it up. And I almost want a little bit more, maybe almost like a little blue or something in there. Let's just like recolor this completely. So maybe a little more of a bluer color, then lighten it up. That's going to be an interesting thing. Check out. Let's try it. Export as dark. Replace it. This is almost darker than it was before, I think. But we'll take a look at it here. a little green now. But if I bring the saturation down, make it a little lighter, okay, and export it, reload in Blender. See, actually, that kind of sort of like that. It's a little, it's a little green, and I don't know if I like having any color in there. Maybe I need to go more on the red side. Let's see. If I hue saturation, change the hue towards the red side, more like a brown red. Bring the saturation down a little bit too, because I still don't want that much color in there. Image reload. Okay, that's better. Actually, I like that. So it looks like from the top. So this is actually looking pretty cool. Now if I could select some more random spots. Still not quite lined up quite right. That's okay. We won't worry about too much yet. Rest of this, again, we're not worried about at the moment. I'm tempted to go ahead and export this. This detail layer, I think, is a little on the stands out a little bit too much. So let me go back here. Hide that. Detail layer is all these things, and the part that bothers me, I need to kind of unhide everything except for that. So the part that bothers me is the grit. It's a little too much, I think. That might be a little better. So let's export these layers. Export as concrete detail. In general, I think this is actually working out pretty well now. I figured out some system. I'd be just interested to see if it looks good in the sim or not. Reloaded the wrong texture here. Concrete details, the one I want to mess with. There, that's a little better. Not quite so dramatic. It might be a little too... No, it's not bad. Okay. The grooves seem a little dark to me, but on the other hand, maybe not. I want to kind of put some wear on top of this now. I'm thinking... You notice there's kind of like... Here in the image, I almost feel like these are from puddles or something on being, you know, that were on top of the concrete, and this kind of corroded it or something. Could be like even salt corrosion too, I suppose. I'm not sure if they put salt on these things or not. That might be kind of hard on planes. But let's add some of that kind of detail, and that actually doesn't seem like it should be too hard. I might go ahead and build it over the top of this texture so I can see what it looks like. It'd be kind of fun to try and make some puddles like Flight Beam. But we'll get to it when we can. Let me hide, well, I won't hide that for now. Let's find a new texture to work with here. So, again, just raw textures from textures.com. And then we're just going to manipulate them in the way that we want. This might actually work pretty well for that, or this, or even that. That might do it. Question is, which one do I want to use? There's so many here nowadays. And this would be kind of cool to put some cracks in some of the concrete that's getting a little more worn out. Maybe this is another one that I've really been wanting to use. This might be it. Let's try it. I mean, they probably all make great textures. You can make a couple different ones, this one and that one. But we'll try this one first. And what if we go ahead and cut off these lines because I don't want them. There is no alpha channel to this yet. Layer or image. Which one is it? I'll just right click on it here. Okay, now I can just erase these bits. So again, textures you maybe never ever think to use. It's part of your concrete texture. And here we are using them. I don't want this white really at all, so let's see if we can, and I'll be wise and save this before I do this. Sometimes using the color select by color tool on these kind of varied textures can make GIMP freeze up, and so you want to kind of make sure you save everything before you get too far into it. It's called concrete shade. I didn't save that in the right location, but and that I don't care about. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. If I delete it, that actually took care of a lot of the colors I don't want. And these lighter colors, they don't look too bad. So let's just go with that. Select none, and of course the pace is going to come way down. That's actually already looking pretty cool. So what if I take the eraser, erase these hard edges because we don't want that there, and then we can kind of make a larger image out of this. Maybe take kind of a splotchy eraser. Just kind of break some of that up right in there. Alright, that looks better. And then we can just up the scale of this. Looks like we need to take care of some things over here as well. And sometimes things don't even look like what you were anticipating, but they just, even if you don't really see it in the real airport, it just adds enough depth to your texture that you just leave it because it looks good. And this looks like it is going to add quite a bit. Let me place it below everything else. Okay. I'm liking this. So let's think about maybe if I scale it up, I don't know. That's a little better, I think. And the idea was just to kind of place this around in areas, but I can't do that quite as it is because it's too rectangular. So if I kind of duplicate it here, and then take the eraser wherever that is, we'll go ahead and use the splotchy one again. And kind of again, let me merge these two down. Kind of just sort of mess it up a little bit. Then it'll look pretty good, I think. So we're gonna have to have kind of a few different ones, I think. So yeah, that actually looks like it could be like a place where there might have been a puddle or something. Kind of corroded the concrete a little bit. So yeah, let's leave this one. We could try something else or stick with this texture. Not too sure at the moment. Let's duplicate it a couple times. Move the current layer around. Maybe rotate it. Transform, rotate 90 degrees or something to break it up. I don't want to see this layer now because I'm going to work with these two. And just get a different shape going here. This one we could rotate, maybe flip it vertically. Yeah. Okay, I like this. And we can merge these two layers down. And okay. So let's call this corroded 2 and call this corroded 01. So we have two different corrosion textures. And again, I'm going to take my eraser, kind of smudge some of this out. Maybe there's a little less right in here. Just kind of play around with it, I guess. Okay. That's pretty cool. Bring it so it's not quite so dramatic. So let's bring the opacity down a little bit. This one already is taken care of pretty much. So you could layer them on top too to break it up even more. All right, let's go ahead and play around with these two then. So let's let's go ahead and export both of these. So I'm going to, again, this will be under our detail layer. And of course it is kind of its own detail, but I'll export this one first. So file, export as corrosion 02. So again, these are still very large textures, so I'm probably going to scale some of these down eventually, but I won't yet. Same with this one, export it. Ah, shoot, well I need to unhide the other, hide this one and unhide that one. Okay. File, export as corrosion 01. Okay, so let's make a couple new planes here for these textures. Make sure we're in object mode when we do this. Okay, Shift A, mesh plane, and it's going to be way too big, like I always say. We can just scale it down, and maybe scale it down a little bit more. And I'll duplicate it so we have one for both textures. And this, I'll just let's do a smart UV project on it. Image, open image, taxi textures, concrete, corrosion 01. Okay, so there's one. Got some bad edges on it right down here. I need to fix that, but whatever. Don't worry about it yet. And this one is image. Well, I'll need to unwrap it, I guess. So smart UV project on it. and open an image. This will be taxi textures, concrete, corrosion 02. Okay, that one looks better. Of course, we have some seams right there. Anyhow, we'll have to kind of work with it. But let's get these placed somewhere here. This is going to have to be, again, below the detail layers, so somewhere in between all these, somewhere like right there, perhaps. Let's see how that looks. Can't even see it at the moment. Do I need to move these up one, perhaps? Well, we'll leave them on this layer right now. It doesn't particularly matter. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so let's just place this around in areas. I could duplicate it kind of like this too. And then maybe duplicate it again. Not like that though. Rotate it. Let me select all of them so I can see the alpha channel in there. That looks pretty good too. Maybe take this one and I'd like to see it over here on the edge. I need to go back and erase some of these hard edges here. Let me do that before I forget. So just kind of around in here somewhere. Of course, I rotated it too, so there might be down here too. I don't know. Hopefully that took care of it. It's gonna take a second or two to export. And let's see if I can reload that image. I think my computer is trying to freeze up on me. That's nice. Alright, let me duplicate this a couple times, do some rotate it some, and yeah. I don't want to group it like that because then it looks the same as the other one. I want to kind of like maybe select all of them. Okay, that's looking better. Man, you just kind of keep adding layers to this and, you know, do crazy things with it. Man, let's see how that's looking. I want to put some watermarks in places, but man, okay. We're going to make a lot of these. I want to make enough that I can see it when I want to export it and get a feel for how it's going to look, whether it's going to look good or not. Rotate that one a little bit. Let's take a look back. This is definitely not exactly, well, it's pretty close to what they got going on here, I guess. But not exactly, so I mean, you know, you kind of cheat a little bit, but it's quite a bit in here. So, you know, play around with it. So I think we can put some, maybe we should work on making some tire marks too while we're at it. So I just want to get a whole bunch of layers in here and just see how it looks. I already have some tire marks, but I think I'll just start from scratch because doing things over always seems to turn out better in the end. So let's make a new texture. Yeah, I'm tempted to go 4096 again, but just makes things run slow. It's always a good idea to start with this. So how do we make tire marks? That's going to be interesting. I kind of need to look up, let's see, tire streak something, see what we can, what they look like. Okay. I don't want anything too intense. Not like people are doing drifting out here on the pavement, but kind of see what I have to do here. All right, have a plan. Let's I kind of need to create a brush is what I need to do. So a custom brush. So let's put some guides here and let's try and create just a simple tire kind of mark look. To do that, I'm going to need some guides. How many do I want? Let's see, maybe about 5. I have 3 blank spaces. Okay, kind of evenly space them. Again, I don't really know what I'm doing, guys. I'm just experimenting, so it's kind of what you have to do. Taking the spray can, whatever it's called, airbrush tool. I want to leave the opacity high, but I'm going to decrease the size. See if I can just get something basic going on here. Need to select everything to do this. And let's see if I can just kind of do something like this. I'm just sticking with that kind of splotchy brush here, but using the airbrush to do this. Something like that, and then maybe I want one less streak. And let's add another layer of just kind of black. So, okay. Got these weird names coming from somewhere, but let's Let's just throw a black bit in there. And bring the opacity way down. And let's kind of mess up the edge of it too. So something like, we could take this brush, I suppose, but it wasn't exactly what I was thinking. Maybe just even a faded edge? Not sure. Just run it down the side here. And then I gotta see, I'm gonna have to look up, guys, how to create my own brush, because I've done it before, but of course I forget, so. And then of course it doesn't look too streaky right now, so maybe if I add a little motion blur to this texture, it'll make it look kind of cool. So filters, blur, motion blur. Let's make the angle 90 degrees. Is that the right direction? Like that. So make the length decent. Let's just give that a shot. That doesn't look too bad, actually. Maybe I want to make it a little more stretched. I don't know. Well, one thing we can do is put this over top of our concrete texture to see how it looks. Of course, it's gonna have to make curved ones and stuff too. Let's create a couple different brushes here. So I could merge this down. So this will just be kind of like the starting point, perhaps. And then I could make another one. And let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Let's crop this. Layer crop to selection. And I want to try and bend it. So yeah, not as easy as in Blender, but let's try it anyways. We'll create a path. And I'm just trying to recall how I've done it in the past, because you know, who can remember all this? Alright, so probably gonna need to do something like this. Make it sort of radius like, so it's like a plane turned. So we can do kind of a mild turn first, and then go back and make a, if it works, we can go back and make a one that's a little sharper. But we'll try this first. And question is, now what? Layer. Image path. I might have to Google it to figure out how to do it. That might work. Let's do this. Let me figure out how to make a brush real quick in GIMP. Make brush in GIMP or something like that. Look it up. It's not too hard. Custom brushes tutorial. Here we go. You guys want to see this? I'll post the link. I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can look it up if you want. Okay, so I'm going to follow this link here. Okay. I guess I can't paste the link in the chat. That's annoying. Maybe I can put it in the description. Would that work or not? Well, I'll paste it there, so at least when it's uploaded, it'll be there. Okay. So, need to make a new image, it looks like. File, new. Can I make a bigger one? 128, perhaps? Not sure if it has to be the same size always. I can make it, twice as long, too. So, 256. I was thinking something like this, but actually, you know what? It probably would make more sense to make it square for certain operations. So let's do 128 and 128. And if I just copy this, don't want to have the white in there, of course, but edit, copy visible, paste. Now it's not going to work, but yeah, okay. Go back, copy visible. See if I just press Control C, Control V. Okay, that worked. But our brush is going to be kind of low res, it seems like. Let's see if we scale the layer down. Make the width 128. It's going to be too low res, I was thinking, but maybe don't want it that detailed. And remove this there. That's to save it as what? Save this. Let's see, step 3. You made that. You can save it if you want. File, save as GIH. Alright, so we'll call this tire.gih or something. Save it in the brushes folder. I'm not sure which version of GIMP I'm using. If it's this one. It's usually in GIMP 2.2 brushes. There, this might be it. No? Maybe it is 2.9. Says home directory. Okay, Austin. So I need to go users Austin. Where is roaming? There we go. Brushes. There we go. Okay. Tire.gih. Is that what we need to save it as? Save as a brush pipe. Save. Tire streak. So maybe I need to go to File, Export, and then navigate users Austin GIMP 2.8 brushes and call this tire.gih. Number of cells, cell size, spacing percent, something, rank 2. Tire streak. Let's see if this works. Okay, and will I have to restart, let's say. So I go with the brushes dialog, and apparently there's a refresh somewhere. Refresh. That's interesting. Do I not even have to create a brush? Of course I would like to have one anyways. Brushes. Is there a different dialog for this? Add tab. Okay. Refresh. There's my new brush right there. Sweet. Okay, let's go back to the layers menu. The size of this brush is gonna have to, well, doesn't necessarily have to be larger, but we'll make it larger. Even find that tab because now it's moved over. Move it down here. Okay, make the size larger. Let's see if this works. And we'll make a new layer for this as well, just in case I don't like what's happening with it or what it does. Kind of cool. Maybe not exactly what I was thinking, but let's try this. So we can do a stroke path. Yeah, that didn't work. Stroke path. Stroke with paintbrush. Let's try that. No, that didn't work. Oh well. This might still come in handy in certain cases. Doesn't seem to work too well though. Let's see. Okay, well, let's go back and see if we can bend this layer then. Maybe I'll stop it here for a second and eat something because I've been doing this all morning. Okay, well, we'll come back to this a little later.